So, good evening, everyone. So, we sat for 20 minutes. Just wondering, do you feel it takes a little time to settle down into the sitting? Or that as soon as you can sit, your body is relaxed and your mind is calm? How many people, as soon as you sit down, you're locked in, you're all set, calm, clear? Really? Wow. Wish I could be like that. For most people, it takes a while to really settle down. And for many people, they say it could take 20 minutes, it could take 30 minutes before starting to really feel settled. Although it can be hard to know how long that is unless you're really watching the clock, which would mean you're not settling. But some people find that if they sit for 30 minutes, they feel that when the chime goes off at the 30-minute mark, they feel like they just started really settling into it. Do you ever notice that? Chime goes off and you're just like, man, I should sit longer. Just feel like I was just getting into it. And it would be interesting to have some statistics. We don't seem to do many statistics or tests within Buddhism. It's not so much an evidence-based world. It's Buddhism is belongs more to the religious faith approach to practice. But it could be useful to do some testing and see um, how long it takes most people to really start to settle in. Because that's why we recommend that for daily sittings to do something longer, not just 5 minutes. It's okay to start with just 5 minutes, then gradually increase the time. The more you feel you can sit longer, from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20, but eventually to sit for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and longer. And even if it's just once a week, to sit for a full hour, as long as it's not very painful or difficult for your body, to sit for a whole hour and really settle into it. And also sit during a time that you feel clear and awake. Not sitting and just, feeling sleepier as it gets closer to bedtime, or if you're groggy in the morning, but to find at least once a week where you feel really good and to sit a bit longer, that can be really beneficial because it does take time for us to settle in. Did you have a question you wanted to still ask?
Yes. So you just mentioned that it's better to choose not too tired, with a clear mind time to meditate. But from today's experience, it's very weird because I'm super exhausted. And today I feel, interestingly, I feel I get into the clear, peaceful mind much faster than before. Usually I meditate in the morning, but today I have a long day and just rush back and sit here, and immediately I feel it's more like my body or mind give up to resist, give up to to keep running and relax faster and get into a very clear mind. I'm not sure if it's the right way or uh, am I really in a clear, peaceful mind? Or maybe I'm just super tired or feel it's that way.
Hmm. It could be the latter for sure. If we're fatigued, we don't have that much energy to engage in all kinds of distracted thinking. And if we're fatigued, we don't have the energy to really be tense about anything. So it could be that, when we're a bit more fatigued, it's easier to feel calm. But if we are fatigued and even exhausted, what usually happens is that we'll have a brief period of calm, but very quickly we'll probably fall asleep. So only you really know. Maybe it is because you're just feeling calmer. And so for today's sitting, it was easier to settle in. That's possible. So you really need to be aware of your condition. And that goes for all of us. When we choose our routine of sitting, it's really important to know, is it a good time to sit? If we're incredibly fatigued and before we even sit down, we're exhausted, is it good to sit? Well, it could be, because if we do sit and meditate and relax, we may find that the fatigue actually, we can recover from the fatigue and still have a very clear-minded, a good sitting. But if we sit after feeling exhausted and very quickly we start to doze off, we start to lose clarity, at that point it's better just to rest, go to sleep. For example, for me, it took quite a while to feel settled, and I don't think I felt settled even after the 20 minutes because today I had quite a busy day. I was traveling a lot. We're still hunting for our new home. So we're driving. We drove 4 hours today, talking a lot, thinking a lot, communicating a lot about the new house. Are we going to make an offer? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? So there's a lot of mental energy and that momentum as I sat. So, of course, thoughts about the house came up. And so when we're at a time where we're usually mentally active, or if we're just engaging in something where there's a lot of thinking and a lot of communication, it can be harder to just jump and sit or jump on the cushion and begin the sitting. So at those times, we can also find a good transition activity. If we're doing a very mental, intensive activity, we can transition and maybe just do a couple of stretches, do a couple of yoga movements, a couple of gentle stretching movements, even just take a brief walk and then sit. You may find it's easier to settle in. So I'd like to continue um, where we left off last time. Actually, last time we talked more about theory. So since today is group sitting, we'll discuss questions, and we have two questions that people brought up from last time. So the first question is about minimum effective dose of meditation. This terminology comes from the person who asked the question. They do a lot of physical training, and that's a terminology for how much you need to work out to build muscle, or how much you need to do a certain exercise to get a result. It's minimum effective dose. So she writes, what's the minimum effective dose of meditation practice in order to attain enlightenment? And she put, just kidding. She said, for people like myself who struggle fitting everything into my schedule, does it yield better progress to do less frequent, longer sittings, or to do more frequent, shorter sittings within a week? So essentially, she wants to know, how much meditation do we really need to do to make progress so that's effective? As far as how much is is effective for attaining enlightenment, I don't know because I haven't attained enlightenment yet, so I can't speak from experience. But in actuality, um, this idea of enlightenment in Buddhism, to some, it may sound very far away that we need to build up something and accumulate something in order to get it. But it's important to remember, and especially from the Chan and Zen teaching, that enlightenment is not about attaining something. It's not about getting some spiritual state. or getting some spiritual power. Enlightenment in Buddhism is really ordinary, and it's not something we don't have. In Chan, there's this saying, 平常心, ordinary mind. Have you heard that? The saying is the ordinary mind is the way. 平常心是道. And what it means is that attaining enlightenment is actually not attaining anything. It's just when we actually let go of our attachments. And more specifically, when we let go of attaching to our thoughts as ourself. That's it. If you can do it, you're enlightened. Very easy to say it. That's the most simple way to say it. That's why in the Chan teachings, the word let go is so often used. 放下, let go, just drop it. So it's not a matter of attaining something, it's just dropping all of this constant obsessive thinking about myself, constantly thinking about what I like, what I don't like, what I believe in. This is what I think about the world. This is what I think about you. This is what I think about myself. Pretty much most of our day has this constant monologue and commentary about every single experience we have. That constant obsessive monologue is our attachment to ourself. If we can drop it and truly let it go, then our mind is silent, but at the same time, very clear about what we're experiencing in the moment, moment to moment. And we can think. There's no problem with thinking, as long as there's no attachment to thinking. Thinking is just another function of our mind. So with enlightenment, we don't gain anything. It's an insight into our own mind where we learn how to stop stop the noise, stop causing trouble for ourselves. So if that's the case, there's actually no particular dosage that we need of meditation, or there's no fixed minimum requirement of meditation. It doesn't work like that. With physical training, I don't know how many of you folks go to the gym, work out. Anybody? Lift weights, do some kind of training? Yeah. And your personal trainer may say, well, you got to do at least this many sets and this many reps per week if you really want to build muscle. That would be the minimum effective dosage. If we just said, well, I don't feel like working out a lot. What if I just do one set and one rep? One set of one rep. Will that build muscle? Basically, it's a bench press. Okay, I'm done for the week. One set and one rep. I don't know, maybe it could build a minuscule amount of muscle, but it probably wouldn't do much. So we need to have a certain amount. With meditation, with the principle I just mentioned of the Chan and Zen approach, there's no fixed amount because technically, the moment you let go of self-attachment, at that moment you're free. However, in reality, if none of us meditated, and if we didn't meditate on a daily basis, our minds would likely be way too scattered and chaotic to even be aware of what's going on. We wouldn't know how to let go because we don't even know what attachment is. So a minimum effective dose, well, we would just say a recommended dosage is to sit every day if you can. Sit every day. If it's hard to fit 30 minutes in, and if you even think of sitting for an hour, like, wow, I just won't sit if I have to sit for an hour every day. Sit for whatever amount of time you feel motivated to sit for. right? How many of you feel motivated to sit for an hour a day? No? Okay. Two of us. Anybody would do 2 hours? 2 hours is better. That may mean you have to wake up earlier or even sacrifice something else that you really want to do. But if you can sit for an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, that's really good. If you choose to prioritize meditation, that is excellent because sitting for an hour in the morning sets you up for the whole day. You have a much more stable and clear mind if you sit for an hour in the morning. And then at night, if you sit for an hour, you get to digest and even let go of everything that accumulated during the day. All of the stress and tension that can build up in our body after a whole day of work, possibly a whole day of complicated interactions with people. If you could sit for an hour, release all of that, and by the time you finish, you feel relaxed, but you feel a little bit sleepy, and you'll sleep so well. Your quality of sleep will be better. And then this momentum of stability and clarity will just increase day by day. So we suggest in the Dharma drum tradition to sit every day. If you can, for an hour in the morning, hour in the evening. But if that's not possible, just sit for the amount of time that you feel motivated to sit for, and ideally during fixed times. And this is something that many of you have heard, countless times. Um, but her question was more detailed in that, well, what if I just sit or have multiple periods in the day and it's shorter? What if I sit 6 times in the day for 10 minutes? That's an hour. Is that useful? For sure. If we could set 10 minutes 6 times a day, or even if you do 5 minutes 3 times a day, or if you do 2 minutes every few hours, or if you do 1 minute every couple of hours, it's all useful. It's all effective dosage. And it's all effective dosage for enlightenment because although enlightenment doesn't come from accumulating any kind of amount of anything, it's still the foundation for us to be able to have the insight that Buddhism is talking about. We need to have a solid foundation of a stable mind and a clear mind in order to have that very simple, ordinary insight. So, um, to answer her question, it's both useful to sit for longer periods, infrequently, and it's useful to sit for shorter periods frequently. So to design whatever makes sense for you. If you can sit longer in the evening and that's when nobody bothers you, great. That's your perfect time for sitting meditation for a long period. And during the day, if you have the freedom at work or at school to take a minute here and there and just sit, drop everything, and either sit at your desk or even stand if you're sitting all day to get up, get a drink, move around, and then just stand for a minute. If you have some nice scenery from your window to stand at your window, you could even look out at the scenery. Practice with a visual method, just looking at the whole scenery as one object. Do that for a minute and relax your eyes. That's great. So we can design our practice to fit in both longer and shorter periods, and it's all beneficial. But in the end of the day, it's still important to remember this idea or this insight of enlightenment is not something we attain that we don't have now. It's just an attitude of selflessness, an attitude of wisdom, the wisdom of letting go of self-attachment. So we can cultivate that too. This method of meditation isn't just about calming our mind, but it's about becoming aware of what we're attached to. So, for example, using myself again, today we're looking at all these houses. And if any of you have bought a home before, you know the process can be a bit complicated. And in the beginning, it's an open market, and a lot of people could be looking for the same house. We put an offer on a house today, but somebody else could have also put an offer on the same house. I think there were 4 or 5 people who went to see that house today. And so we don't know if the offer will be accepted, if somebody else will challenge it. And it's easy to get attached, though, especially when we like something. So we like the house. It seems to fit all of our requirements. So it's easy to think, oh man, wouldn't it be great if we just get this place? We don't have to keep looking for houses anymore. Yeah, yeah. And if we do get this place, we should probably paint the walls a different color. Yeah, yeah. And we should do this. We should change this thing. And yeah, we should build a garage and we start planning. We start to kind of take this pretty far and plan as if it's already ours. But this kind of attitude, which we've experienced the consequence of this before, when it didn't work out with a house, liking something, obsessively thinking about it, that's attachment. Wanting it to be ours. Um, think of your own circumstance. Really wanting something to be yours and thinking, well, if I don't have this, I'm not going to be happy. If I don't get this house, we're just never going to find a house. If I don't have this person in my life, I'm just not going to be happy. Or if I don't get this person out of my life, I'm just not going to be happy. Sometimes we can really fixate on things and have this expectation that only if we get it or have it, only if we can keep it, will we feel happy or secure. So, practice in daily life is not only calming ourselves, but becoming aware of all of these patterns where we create a dependence on things or on people and we get stuck there. It creates a lot of suffering when we attach. And if we get it, if we get the thing we want, we could be really happy. If we get the house, we could be super happy. But we could also be really upset if we find out it's not exactly the way we assumed it would be, right? Oh, when we get this house, it's going to be like this and it's going to be like that. And oh man, there's a crack in the basement wall. That's a problem. Um, so attachment is when we have these thoughts about our situation and we invest a lot of energy in them, obsessively think about them and expect that these things can bring us happiness, can bring us freedom, when in actuality they can't. Because whether it's a house or a person, all of these things are imperfect and ultimately we can't rely on them. So day-to-day practice is not just calming ourselves and feeling peaceful. Daily life, Chan, Zen practice is becoming aware of all of these different patterns and ways that we cling to things that we want or try to get rid of the things we don't want And now we invest so much energy and strategy on achieving these things. If we can let go, does it mean we just don't do anything? If I let go, does it mean we just like give up on looking for a house or give up on a relationship? Of course not. We still work on these things. We still have desires, but we're much more skillful and careful not to be swamped by these thoughts, swamped by these uh, desires or aversions. So I think that's um, a good way to reply to the first question. What do you think? Do you have any follow-up to what I just said about the minimum effective dosage of meditation? How to tell the difference between following our values versus following our attachments, preferences, and judgments? That's a great question. Um, they can be the same thing. They can be the same thing. For example, in hunting for a house, uh, we have certain values, or for myself, I value the forest. I'd love to live in a place where there's forest and woods. So that's where we're looking. We're looking in forested areas, areas with bigger plots of land. That's one thing that I value. I also value the quietude of the forest and the air, the fresh air of the forest. However, um, one way that it could be an attachment, and maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but if I said, well, in this forest, I have to have not only deciduous trees, but evergreens. So I want maple trees, I want pine trees, I want hemlocks. And unless the woodlot has all of those kinds of trees, I don't want it. That could be a lot to ask for. Some places upstate here, it's mostly pine or mostly deciduous. It could be difficult to have all of those kinds of trees in one spot. But generally, looking for the woods, we have a lot of options. And actually, at one point, I even thought, well, if we don't find something in the woods, maybe we'll just get something in the suburbs. If we can't find anything, it's too expensive. I can accept living in the suburbs upstate, and I can. We haven't given up on looking for forested places, but if needed, we could live in the suburbs. Suburbs. So that's having a value, but still being flexible, right? There's less attachment. If I said, I'm not going to live anywhere except if it's in the woods, and I'm going to spend $1 million to do it, I'm going to spend all of my savings just to live in the woods. I could, but would that be a good idea? I don't know. Maybe some people are okay with having no savings and living paycheck to paycheck, but if I have savings and I can maintain some of it while getting a house, which is pretty good, I think that's wiser than blowing all the savings and impulsively buying something which is, way, way beyond what I could ever afford, or at least for now. An even more drastic example, but one which happens is I may say, well, I don't have $1 million, but I'll go get a loan from my friend's friend who has a lot of money. That's a really low interest rate. The catch is that he's a gangster, but I'm willing to take that risk. I'll get a loan from a gangster so that I can live out my dream, living in the forest in a $1 million house. That's obviously attachment, and people do that. they go to this level to try and fulfill their dream. They do things which are very risky, could put themselves in a bad place. Whereas we may value something, but the conditions just aren't right. So we may have to let go of certain preferences. And that would be an attitude of non-attachment when still going in the direction of our values. What do you think? Does that make sense? Any follow-up?
So following the condition is the key difference.
If the condition is right, there's a house in the forest and I can afford it. I can maintain my savings and not put myself and my family at risk. Perfect. Conditions aren't right. We need to adapt.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Other folks, questions about, okay. So attachment could be very close to manifesting, but manifesting sometimes is good, right? What do you mean by manifesting? Are you using that term in terms of the more modern New Age term of manifestation? Okay. Well, I can't comment too much on what manifestation is because it's such a new thing. It's not a part of Buddhist terminology. It's more of a New Age idea, and um, people can be approaching it from many different angles. But I can share the Buddhist version of manifestation, which is that manifestation requires the conditions, the right conditions. It's not all about if I think about something hard enough, if I visualize something for long enough, that it will just happen. Um, Buddhism acknowledges that, yeah, we need an intention. I have the intention to go buy a home. We also have certain prerequisites and preferences. So actually, in my mind, I do have an image or a visualization of what's the place that I'd like to move to. So in a sense, I'm visualizing. I'm not sitting in my meditation visualizing the house, at least not intentionally, but I have a clear idea of what I'm going for. But it also requires action, speech. I need to talk about it. I need to talk with the agent about it. I need to talk with other people about it. When I talk to my friends about it, they could give me ideas and suggestions. They could even make connections with someone who's selling a house. And I need to do something about it. I need to research, and the house needs to be there. Um, so manifestation from the Buddhist perspective is not just about me somehow using a spiritual power to make something happen, but it's just that all of our action of mind, speech, and body in coordination with the environment and other people, if conditions all come together, then something manifests. We get the house. If one condition is missing, there's a really bad leak in the basement, then it doesn't manifest. So the Buddhist manifestation, the technical term is called conditioned arising or dependent origination, 缘起. And in Mahayana Buddhism, we say that the primary cause for the arising of these things is our mind. Our intention is the initial thing that brings about all of these results and brings things together. We had no such intention, the situation wouldn't manifest. Um, we don't want a house, then just a house is not going to fall on our lap. So manifestation or manifesting isn't good or bad, but that for things to come together and to manifest, it requires um, preferably a stable and clear mind, clear intention, and the less attachment, the better. Less attachment and fixation we have on getting a house in the forest, we have a million more options. Could be in the suburbs, it could be by the ocean, it could be in the city. So it all depends on how willing and how flexible, how flexible we're willing to be. So maybe I have just a very strong attachment to the forest right now. I'm not yet willing to to go back to the suburbs. And anyway, it's cheaper than Long Island, that's for sure. That's where I used to live. Any other questions about what we're discussing? And again, about your own dosage of meditation. So does having less attachment, is having less attachment always better? Um, better. I'd probably use the word having less attachment, we're freer, psychologically freer, and less burdened by all of the emotional agitation that comes with attachment. If I was really attached to this house and tomorrow we hear that, well, we're sorry, someone else made an offer for 100K over yours. They really like it. I'd just be like, oh, be totally distraught, right? If I was like, oh, this is going to be ours. I can feel it. This is going to be mine. I can just feel it. The next day we hear the bad news. That's a lot of suffering. Whereas if I'm not so attached, I like it, I want it. If I can have it, great. But I realize that someone could get that house faster than we can. They moved faster, they want it more, and they have more resources. So, okay, I'm okay. Congrats to them. I know I can find another place. It's other houses in other forests out there for sure. So, with less attachment, we're freer. How do we let it go when we have a strong attachment? Internally, just in terms of our attitude, um, we use the methods of practice to help let go. So I won't use the house example too much. And maybe you're getting sick of that, but let's say it's about a person, because our emotional attachments are probably stronger with people than places, right? If we have a very strong emotional attachment to a person and we're not sure if it's reciprocal, we're not sure if they have an equal attachment or if they want to have anything to do with us, or maybe there's a complicated relationship. We're just not sure. We're not sure if we like them. They're not sure if they like or love us or if they're able to be with us. Probably the most complicated situations are when both people are sure they love each other, but that being together is so harmful, right? When their behaviors or their way of being together is just brings more harm than benefit, even though the emotional attachment is strong. Those can be so difficult. So how do we let go? Well, the method of practice, methods of not only sitting in meditation, but a method for letting our mind let go of that emotional fixation and free it from that we use a method so that the mind is now on the method. Instead of thinking obsessively about the person, for example, let's say we had to separate with this person, and it's very painful. It's not easy to just let go and say, "Oh, well, we're separate. I'm fine. I'm just going to let go." Our mind will most likely go back to thinking about them, obsessing about them, longing for them. If we have a method, we can replace those obsessive thoughts with the method. The breathing, for example, we can go back to our breathing, relax our body, just be aware of our natural breathing, and our mind is now on breathing. We're gradually letting go of the emotional fixation. So that's more internal. Also, if we want to let go of that person because we know it's not healthy to be with them, not only do we use our method, but we probably shouldn't check their social media, for example, right? Has anyone had that experience? You break up with someone, but you keep checking their social media to see what they're up to. Wonder what they're doing. Wonder who they're talking to. Wonder if they say anything about how they feel. We go back, we strengthen our attachment by engaging with the person indirectly, wanting to know more about them, wanting to see what they're doing. It's still thinking about them or looking at pictures of them or looking at old texts. If we really want to let go, we have to change our behavior and say, okay, I'm just not going to check their social media. I'm going to delete our texts. You know, if you want to keep the photos, fine. But if you keep looking at them all the time and feeling terrible, that's not going to help you release emotional attachment. For this period of time, we can choose not to look at the photos, put them away, or take them off the phone, put them on a drive somewhere, and stuff them in the closet. So if you want to look at them in 20 or 30 years, you can. But for now, it's not easy, so you probably won't do it. So we can change our behavior in order to help us let go of attachment, not just an internal practice. We change our behavior. And of course, it could be tempting to communicate with that person. We know it's bad for both of us, but we reach out. And that just opens the whole door to continuous emotional attachment. So if we have to let go, we know we have to let go. We create a boundary for ourselves. And we say, I'm not going to communicate with this person. And if you need to, you block them, right? We all know about that. If you feel bad about blocking, what do? We think, oh, I don't want to block them. It seems like making them out to a criminal. If they find out that I blocked them, maybe they'll hate me forever. Well, we could tell them. Why not just use one last time to say, hey, I respect you, but I think for the health of both of us, I'm gonna have to block you. Yeah. If it's useful or if that would make us feel better in following through with our behavior, we can communicate it in a way which doesn't fuel the attachment. We can communicate it in a way that sets the boundary and makes it clear so that both people can be free from crossing the boundary, right? Both people know, okay, we both agreed on it. We blocked each other. It's a mutual block. So, so it's maybe less painful. I block you, you block me. Everybody's happy. We could think of all different ways to change our behavior to help us let go of emotional attachment. So if we don't get the house, we make an offer, it gets refused. Should I go back to Zillow and keep looking at it? Oh, what a great house that was. I mean, look at that. 6 acres, all woods. That wouldn't help me let go. So I take it off the list of favorites, so I don't have to see it. So behavioral changes, like um, many of us know, can help release that emotional attachment. But Buddhism also recognizes that in our ordinary lives, some degree of emotional attachment is normal and even healthy. Otherwise, none of us would have any relationships with anyone. We were totally unattached and didn't feel a strong connection with someone. We probably wouldn't make friends. We probably wouldn't even study Buddhism with a particular teacher or a particular group of people. There's still a healthy degree of emotional attachment within the practice of Buddhism. In Buddhism, we just change the term a little bit from emotional attachment um, to, I'm thinking of how to translate it to English. The Chinese is, it's not 感情, it's 道情, 道, 佛道的道. So it's not just an emotional attachment, it's a togetherness on the path, or a spiritual attachment, but spiritual sounds too otherworldly. To have a connection, a mutual connection through this practice where we value each other, we enjoy practicing with other people, we feel safe with these people. That's a kind of emotional attachment, but it's a bit more pure. There's much less of that clingy attachment that can happen with typical friendships or typical intimate relationships where people are just together because they like each other. When you like someone a lot, you love them or fall in love with them. That's like the extreme of emotional attachment. After we fall in love, everything gets normal again, and then we just have more of a familial attachment, which is less extreme and it's healthier, but it can still be based on just liking each other. Whereas the attachment or the connection based on this Buddhist practice or practice of bettering yourself, enlightening yourself, it's a much more pure um, connection, pure emotional connection. 道情, that's what Master Sheng Yen used to call it. There was another question. I'd like to get to that because it was brought up last week. Simpler, but we can take it deep if we want. So I'll just reply to this one briefly. The question was about relaxation. So the person said it can be difficult to relax in daily life. Relaxation, they say, is the foundation of stability, but why is it so hard to relax? Why is it so hard to relax, especially during the time of some urgent tasks, urgent situations? How can we improve our relaxation skills in daily life? Would anyone like to know? Anybody find it difficult to relax sometimes? I can see from some responses. It's really difficult to relax when our attachments are very strong. Because relaxation is not just about muscle tension, right? Muscle tension or relaxation. The tension that we experience in daily life is much more so due to a psychological source. Our attachments, the things we really like, we really want them. The things we don't like, we really don't want them. And this push and pull internally creates so much tension. So actually, everything we just said about becoming aware of our attachments and gradually letting them go, finding ways to change our behavior so that we can let go of attachments, this allows us to relax, right? This gives us so much more ease in body and mind, right? I don't think I need to say more. When we really attach to someone emotionally, our body is not going to be at ease. It's going to be tense. It's going to be disturbed and agitated. When we let go of this excessive attachment, unhealthy attachment to people and things, we find ourselves so much more at ease. So the key thing lies there in attitude. And how do we really practice this? Well, if we develop a routine, like we mentioned in the beginning, an effective dosage, the right dosage of practice, sitting practice, and finding ways to apply the method more and more in all of our daily life situations, we find that we just become relaxed because we're practicing relaxation. So for those mindful moments where you use your method, just remember to relax. Before you use that method, whether it's breathing, critical phrase, reciting something, we relax first. We can check our posture to make sure we're sitting in a way that's healthy and that it's easier to relax when our posture is good. And then we just release the tension. And then we continue with whatever our method is. So by relaxing more and by applying this method to relaxation multiple times throughout the day, as much as possible, we become more relaxed and our attitude is less attached and we find ourselves freer. Free and at ease in body and mind, as the saying goes, 身心自在. Have a great night.